Welcome to the Be Well and Be You podcast, where I talk about everything to do with your healing and well being, and ultimately how to live your most vibrant life. And today is a special episode. I've taken a coaching question from one of the members of our Uplifted Collective community. She's given permission for me to talk about some strategies that really help us when we're in the midst of feeling depressed, we're feeling blue, we're feeling like we just can't get out of the funk. So, the first half of today's episode, that's what we're going to talk about. And I'm going to give you a very specific, really simple strategy where you can begin right away to shift from how you are feeling closer towards how you do want to feel. And then we're also talking with Johanne Fraser. And Joanne is a Reiki master. She took me through my level 1 training, and she leads us through why we want to meditate, what are the values and benefits of meditation, and then also takes us through a meditation, and then talks with us about how animals feel our energy. They're the amazing litmus test for how are we actually feeling, because if we're feeling a little crazy and chaotic, they're picking up on that. So she's got some really fun stories to share with us today, and I so appreciate her honesty and authenticity as she talks about navigating a couple of challenging situations, and how the animals really were the light that led her forward. So stay with us right through to the end, because we've got a really packed and really delightful episode for you today. Enjoy. Get right into when you're feeling blue and you try all the things that could work. Like Kim mentioned that she went down to the beach, which is amazing, being able to be by the ocean air and soak up the iodine that you get from the ocean, because actually just breathing in the ocean air is really great for iodine. In the past, they always used to have iodized salt because we just weren't getting enough iodine in our diet. And one of the great ways that we can do that is just go be by the ocean, which is pretty incredible. So really great in terms of being in nature. Being in nature can be a really fantastic way for us to just tune in and allow ourselves to be rooted and grounded, because oftentimes we go into the mind spiral and we're not really grounded. And there's this thing called earthing, where you put your feet in the grass, your bare feet in the grass, and if you can get your heart and your body facing towards the sunshine, ideally. I mean, of course, if you live in the Lower Mainland, we don't always have the option of putting our bodies towards the sunshine, but at least there's lots of nature around us. So, getting your feet in the grass, sitting your butt on the ground, lying down on the ground if you like, and all of these things can be really supportive in terms of allowing our body to become more rooted and grounded. But what do we do if we're trying all the things that sometimes work for us and it's just still not working? And this is where we want several things that allow us to be able to shift. Because let's face it, it's important to feel the feelings. If we're feeling frustrated, if we're feeling disappointed, if we're feeling upset, if we're feeling super blue, if we're feeling, overwhelmed, it's okay to feel these feelings. None of these feelings are bad or wrong, and we don't want to come at it from that approach. We want to be able to feel it. We want to be able to be a whole human being that has the full experience of all the different range of emotions. That's part of what makes us human, is having that full range of emotions. And if we're feeling loss or we're feeling sorrow, these are things that we must feel, because if we don't feel them, they're going to attach, and it's going to be much harder for us down the line to actually be able to process through them. It becomes, something that can set in and can actually become dis-ease. And I emphasize dis-ease because we're not in ease, right? And so dis-ease is that place where things have become trapped, they've become lodged, and they've kind of gotten stuck in a position, and then there isn't that flow. So if we think of the chakras of our body, right from the crown right down through the root chakra, and if there's anything that's kind of, garbled up or tangled up, this can become a place for dis-ease. So we want to feel, and we don't want to shame ourselves for feeling low or shame ourselves for feeling the way that we're feeling. And I think oftentimes in the personal development realm, we tend to hyper-emphasize feeling the positive emotions and de-emphasize when we're just really feeling like garbage. And so it's allowing ourselves to be in that place, allowing ourselves to feel it all, but we don't want to hang out there permanently, right? We don't want to give ourselves over completely to those feelings. So how then do we feel it and then begin to bring ourselves forward? So this is partly why having this community is so important. And Joanne, you mentioned you reached out to Kim because Kim had put that message in there for all of us. And so that's perfect. That's exactly what we want to do, is we want to rally around one another when we are feeling those kinds of feelings. And we want to be able to reach out and say, I feel like garbage today. I need somebody, just hold my hand, allow me to have a shoulder to cry on, or can you just walk me through this and give me a different perspective? Sometimes a shift in perspective will create an incredible miracle in terms of how we're feeling. A shift from I'm not worthy to a friend who says to you, you are worthy. You have got this. You have everything you need within you. And sometimes that's just enough to go, okay, I'm just going to borrow that belief. I'm just going to, I don't necessarily feel it myself right now, but I'm going to borrow the belief of my friend who's telling me they believe in me. They believe in my inner worth. So reaching out, beautiful. Like Kim, I'm so grateful that that's what you put on the message that I had put out there the other day, was that, yeah, I kind of felt like I couldn't get out of the funk. And I'm in bed all day and I just feel it. And so it's perfect. That's exactly what this community is for each of us to be able to express ourselves honestly, and then for all of us to be able to work together through this. And it's having that shared experience. So when somebody's going through something, that we can all be there with them. If we're all one, if we literally are all one, and we look at how connected all of our energy is, when we do have a sharing within that experience, it can actually be quite transforming. Okay, so reaching out, super important. So we don't just try to do this all on our own. And then it's really important that we have almost like our little toolbox of what things we can open the toolbox up and we can go, okay, what do I need right now? Do I need to do some tapping? Do I need to do some energy work? Do I need to do some journaling? Do I need to get out of this room that I'm in? Or do I need to sleep, right? So just being able to actually have access to tools is really important for all of us. And sometimes when we don't know what to do, that's when we need to reach out and we need to say, hey, I've tried this, this, and this. What can I do next? So that's why we're here today, is to talk about that. And one of the things that I have taught at us, I don't remember which week it was, but I taught about tapping. And I really love tapping for the reason that it allows us to feel what we're feeling and allows us to begin to shift, even just shifting that dial slightly from what we were feeling to what we would desire to feel. So I believe if you go back into the other episodes, you'll be able to see where it says tapping. But let's just start right now by doing a bit of tapping. Now, tapping is taking a few points, acupressure points around the body, and tapping through what we're feeling. And so we're expressing what we're feeling, and then we're going to flip it and express what we desire to feel. Okay, so let's just pick an emotion of I'm feeling really blue. and feeling really lost. So we can start, and I just want to say something here. Everybody who teaches tapping teaches it slightly different. And I don't want us to get hung up on, well, Kimberly's doing it wrong because this person has taught me to do it this way. Or is that person not correct because Kimberly does it this way? And a lot of times it's being able to just be in the moment and allow ourselves and our intuition to lead the way. So, and I know this from energy healing, like Joanne has taught some of us level 1 Reiki. And I love how you teach it, because you teach it according to, here's the principles and here's how you do it, and follow your intuition. This isn't a hard and fast, if it's not done this way in this order, it doesn't work, right? That's not how us humans work, right? So we don't have to be attached to, it has to be done perfectly in this order, in this way. And if as you're doing it, you're like, oh, I forgot that whole step, it's okay. You just carry on, right? So what we'll do is we'll start with the top. I'll take my glasses off here. And then you're going to go to the eyebrows, and then under the eyebrows, and then under the nose, and the chin. Now, the way I always learned it was on your chest, but I've seen a lot of people recently where they do the collarbone. I personally like this, the thymus gland area. For me, that works really well. I've done it in a pinch when I can't remember because I'm all in chaos, and I'll just simply tap right here. But again, if it feels really good for you to tap on your collarbone, then tap on your collarbone. And then from there, you move down to like where your bra line would be, so underneath your armpit. And then you do kind of like a karate chop right here on your hand. And then we go back up. And so as we're doing this, we're going to say, so I like to use the words even though. So even though I feel, and then you fill in the blank. So even though I feel, oftentimes if I'm not feeling super creative with my words, I'll just say, even though I feel like garbage, I fully and completely love myself. Even though I feel like garbage, I feel like, and I don't get any creativity. I just say the same thing over and over and over again. Now, if you're feeling like every time you tap, you're feeling a new feeling, then you speak that. And if you can speak it out loud, it's like a kinesthetic form. You're using your hands, you're using your verbal, so you're hearing it. It creates like an auditory sensation for you. So having all of that, it's really tuning into the mind and the body and the spirit. But if you can't, if you're sitting on an airplane, for instance, and you're just gonna like gently tap, or maybe just one-handed tap, and you're not gonna verbalize it, then that's okay too, right? So we really want to give you permission to just feel into this. And I like to use the I fully and completely love myself, because sometimes what's happened in the moment is we're feeling frustration for ourselves. We're feeling disappointed. We're feeling like we're not good enough. We're feeling like we don't measure up. We're feeling like, how could I be in this situation again? Which, let me tell you, we all are here for different life lessons. And generally speaking, most of us will cycle through similar lessons in our lifetime. For some people, it's finances. For some people, it's relationships. For some people, it's careers. I look at my dad, his whole life, he went from one job to another career, to another career, to another. Like literally, it was like everything was going really amazing, and then the business would close down, and then he'd help with another startup, and then they'd be doing really great, and then they would shut down and they couldn't keep him employed. And so there was this endless cycle of his whole life of never finding kind of his home with his career. And it was almost like each time is another layer of learning, if we allow it to be so. If we allow for ourselves, kind of like the layers of the onion. Okay, I seem to be in a similar pattern again. I seem to be in a similar position again. it is entirely possible we've peeled another layer here. And so just staying in that place of curiosity with whatever season we're in, knowing that Joanne might have a different cycle that she goes through, and that I go through totally different cycles. And Kim, who, put the message out there for us the other day about feeling blue, she's got a different cycle. It's like our own life curriculum. You think about how there's curriculums in schools and they have certain things that they're moving through, and that's like us. We have our own curriculum, and that's okay, because each time we learn a little more about ourselves, and each time, if we choose to, we can allow it to be a place of growth. So without further ado, let's do some tapping, and let's do it on whatever it is. You can either follow along with me, or you can say your own. And you're just going to tap whatever it is you're feeling right now in this moment. So if you're feeling a little stuck or a little irritated, maybe your family's driving you crazy or whatever, just go to that place. I'm going to go along with some of the things that I'm going to assume, and I could be wrong, but I'm going to go along with some of the things that I'm going to assume that Kim is feeling, because that's why we're doing this. This is for Kim right now. But you go with whatever it is that you're feeling. Okay. So even though I'm feeling frustrated and disappointed that I'm in the same situation, again, I fully, completely, and deeply love myself. Even though I'm feeling frustrated and disappointed and a little blue, I fully and completely love myself. And now we're doing the eyebrows. Even though I so wish I didn't have to feel these feelings anymore, I am just honoring who I am and trusting that the path is unveiling for me. And now the cheekbones. Even though I am feeling distressed, I'm really uncomfortable, I'm upset and disappointed, I am honoring the way my body is experiencing these emotions right now, and I am trusting that a new path is unveiling for me. Now, underneath your nose, even though I'm feeling sadness and sorrow and loss, and I'm feeling frustrated that I'm going through a work change again, I am trusting in myself, and I love myself, and I'm honoring myself. And underneath the lips, even though I'm feeling sick to my stomach and I'm feeling stress in my body, I fully and completely love myself. Even though I'm feeling such loss and almost feeling re-traumatized, I fully and completely love and honor and respect myself and my needs. And now we're going to go either to your chest or your collarbone. Even though I am in this situation, this workplace crisis, this workplace transition, I am choosing to love myself through this. I am choosing to honor who I am as a whole and complete being who has come to earth for all of these lessons. And even though I'm feeling all of these things, I am trusting that this is all for me. Under your armpit. Even though I am so stressed and I don't know what the future holds, I am choosing to trust that this is a new path, a new way forward. And I am going to love myself through this, just as I would love anybody else who's going through this time. And now your karate chop. Even though I am feeling all of this flood of emotions right now, I am choosing to honor myself. I'm choosing to tune into my intuition, to love myself, and to do what is for my highest good. Now, at this point, you want to tune in and you want to see, has there been any shift? Do I feel a little different? Do I feel a lot different? It's actually really a good idea before you start tapping to, on a piece of paper, write on a scale of 1 to 10 how you're feeling. So 1 would be garbage, the lowest of low, I feel horrible, and a 10 would be, I feel amazing. And I'm just going to tap just for the sake of tapping. Because then what you want to do is you want to tap until you see that number shift, right? So if you're feeling like you're at a 2 or a 3, keep tapping until you bring that at least to a 3 or a 4 or a 5 even. And you might even keep tapping until you bring it up to an 8 or a 9 or a 10. So this is a really great tool to have in your toolbox. You can do it anywhere at any time. And you do not have to be perfect in what you're saying. You could pick one mantra and speak it over and over and over again. But it's a really, really quick way to just shift that dial. And I love it because it's honoring how you're feeling without dismissing it, without doing kind of the spiritual bypass. And it's giving you the freedom to actually be in a place of just shifting from where you are to where you closer to where you desire to be. And you'll see if you get to, a 6 or 7 and you get up and you kind of feel your body, how am I feeling right now? Do I have maybe a little bit more energy in this moment? Do I feel like, oh, I could get up and go make dinner now? Up until this point, I didn't even want to make dinner. I just wanted to open a bag of chips and sit on the couch, right? But now I feel like making myself a good, nutritious meal. Okay, beautiful, right? It's like a little step. We're not looking at, can we take a giant Mount Everest leap? We're just saying, can we just shift that dial a little? And when we give ourselves permission for that, it is incredible what can happen. So that's just one little tool to offer when you are feeling like things are overwhelming or stressful, or you're beating yourself up, or whatever it is that you're feeling. It's just a really great tool to be able to shift that just slightly. Okay. Hope that was helpful. Joanne, I want to turn the rest of the time over to you to just walk us through whatever you'd like to walk us through.
Okay. One thing I want to share is this morning I pulled a card and I'm going to show it to you. I think it goes with this morning and with how Kim was feeling. Can you see that? Soul family. Call in your tribe. You don't have to do it alone. So there you go. And it's got a really nice write up, which is basically emphasizes on that you don't have to do it alone. And you know what? I think many of us feel that way, especially when you're feeling bluesy, you're depressed. There was one time in my life that I went through a major depression. It was just after my dad died, actually, a year after my father died. I was only 18 years old at the time. And I couldn't even get out of bed. Like it hit me, but the thing is what was interesting about that is my brother corrected me on that because I said it hit me out of the blue. And he goes, no, you went through anger. You went through, like, there was a process going on with the grieving that led to feeling paralyzed. And, I'm reading Michelle Obama's book, All the Light We Carry. And something she says about that, about when you're feeling like completely overwhelmed and completely paralyzed and completely like you just don't feel you can even take another step. She mentions, which I think is really, really brilliant, she mentions to focus on the small, to think bigger. So for her big thing was during COVID, and during that time, Trump was in office, and it just felt like everything was completely out of control in all her life. Because for her life, she had an agenda. She did this, she did this, she did this, and then all of a sudden, all that was gone. So she was left with, what do I do? So she ordered knitting needles, and she knitted. And that's how she got through a lot of stuff. And she said she realized that by focusing on the small, I was actually able to think bigger. So it's kind of like the tapping because you're bringing that attention to something that you can do, or you can set your mind away from what the problem is. So I found that quite interesting this morning. That the Soul Family and Michelle Obama's comment when I was reading it about to when you just think you can't handle life, go to the small. So, like you mentioned, the beach. The beach is big, but actually, it's the small. It's an easy thing to do, right? So, and that's the same with meditation. So, when I went through that really bad depression, um, my small thing was my dog. Every morning, that dog would come into my bed, give me a big kiss. If there was no one who loved me in this entire world, that little dog was my go to every single morning, my reason to get out of bed. Um, and stopping and taking note of the finer things in life, like, and I don't mean materialistic things, the roses, the flowers, the trees, going for a walk in nature. It really helps bring you out of the funk. It doesn't change what's happening out here, but it changes you internally. And meditation has the power to do that. And, science wise, they've proven now that meditation does everything from, and I've got a little write up here, it does everything from it changes your biochemistry. It immerses you in a meditative practice, and your cortisol levels and your stress hormones, like, they decrease, and it gives you more of a tranquility. It takes practice. Sometimes, I know, if you have a busy mind, you sit down and your mind is like going crazy, and you're like, I have I have a brother who suffers from a lot of anxiety, and I keep telling him to meditate, and he tells me I cannot do that because my mind won't stop. Well, I said, that means you're alive, right? So your mind isn't going to stop. But if you continue to practice the meditation, it will help change some of that frequency. It'll help you see things clearer. Um, it also ramps up the production of serotonin and dopamine and our personal cheerleaders that evoke feelings of happiness and contentment. So the neurochemical dance not only diffuses stress, but also cocoons us in a state of deep relaxation. Again, it takes practice, but you just practice it every day. And if you can only meditate for 2 minutes, 2 minutes is better than 0 minutes. And the next day, build on it. If you can only meditate once a week, do it and then build on it. And what I have found by doing that is I crave that time to myself. And I've managed to do it. You can also, and I want to really point this out, it doesn't have to be in your home, and you don't have to have music on when you're meditating. There's many different ways to do it. You can literally meditate while you're in a walking state, when you go to a walk, when you go into mindfulness of the trees, or you just focus on that and you have these little thoughts coming and just go back to the trees. Or if you're with your dogs, just watch how they interact with the land and the earth. They are actually, animals are our natural source to the universe and the earth, because they go to it with no problems. There's nothing else going on in their brain other than what they're smelling, what they're seeing, what they have to pee on, or where they go. That's all they think about, is the next thing. And it's always within their scope and within, especially in the land. My husky is an incredible um, source for that, because when she smells flowers, and I'm not kidding you, she smiles and her tail wags. She loves plants and she smells. It's hard for me to go for a walk for her because I'm like, okay, gotta go, gotta go. I gotta get to work. And she stops at every single plant and smells the roses, and it makes me stop. And she is my teacher that way. So she literally is in, I think, a meditative state all the time. My Belgian Malinois is me. He's in like gotta go alert state all the time. So the two of them teach me the balance of really myself. So if you can look around into your own environment, really, we all, even though some of us think, like Kim said, like in that depressed state, and I know when I was in that horrible state years ago, when I came out of it even for a smidge, I was able to see that I did have some balance in my life. I was able to see that I did go to things that were more for my spirit, my soul. And so we are doing the right things, but we can't always see it due to unforeseen circumstances like a job loss, a death, or so forth. It throws us into a tizzy. So it's not impossible, even in the worst time, to stop and be able to breathe. That's always there. So regular meditation, it can sharp your concentration and your attention span. It can help with that, especially if you suffer from anxieties and your thoughts are always going. So your attention span is always going to do the other thing. Especially if you're upset, you tend to, it throws, like I said, it throws you off kilter. So the meditation can bring you back just to your breath, and that can do incredible things. Um, so basically, meditation in your physical health, it fortifies your immune system. And that is true, I think. I think if we let things get out of hand, as we all know, and as you keep saying, Kim, the emotions cause us illness. And that's the big thing behind Reiki as well, is that if you're not practicing some of this, coming back to your own, and you let those emotions go wild through your body, it does cause illness. It can sit in your body in an unhealthy way, and it can literally cause illness. So meditation can literally change the chemistry of that. It also can reduce inflammation, and that is predominantly inflammation. I have found with my Reiki practice that inflammation is the biggest problem within all our bodies. And we carry the weight of emotions and maybe some illnesses, which causes inflammation. So by engaging in the mindful practice regularly, and like I said, you can do it in your car, you can do it at home, you can take, so there's some people like my brother, for example, he says he can't sit for 2 minutes. He's a huge golfer. I said, just practice your breathing when you're golfing. It might even improve your golf game. So that got him very interested in the meditative part, because I don't have to sit there for 2 minutes and think about it. I can actually do it when I'm golfing. He's like, what are you talking about? I'm like, you can literally meditate while you're walking, Kevin. And it can improve your golf game. So for him, the words improve your golf game was a major inspiration for him, because he's always improving his golf game. He spends his life improving his golf game. So that's the thing, right? Find your thing and go with it. So basically the conclusion is that it's like the science is behind meditation. They've done research with monks, and they've seen their brains are completely shifted compared to the regular person. Their brain is that much more in that meditative state, and it opens up a whole realm of possibilities for your brain function, for even things like Alzheimer's, for also ticking into the other side, like the spiritual, the mediumship, all those things really with meditation can improve so many things. It's also it's free. You don't have to pay for meditation. You can do it at any time. I know sometimes at work for myself, there's times where I literally take a break in the bathroom just to breathe, just to be away, close the door, and nobody will bother me in the bathroom. They might bother me in my office, but they won't bother me in the bathroom. And sometimes it's just that breath, like, okay, just breathe it in. I'm feeling this, and then that's it. The tapping that you just did is reminds me kind of a chant for the body. If you've ever chanted and meditating, it brings your body in focus, and it goes through all your chakras, and you can literally feel it down right into your root. With the tapping, it kind of felt that way for the body. It brings that body almost to the surface, if I'm making sense, and it brings you right there, like you're just right at one with your body. So it kind of reminds me of chanting for the soul. uh the tapping reminds me of chanting for the body. So so if you want to just get comfortable, the meditations that I teach in Reiki all are sourced from the Japanese. And the Japanese believe in your hara, which is your belly area, which is about 2 fingers down from your belly button. And the hara is your sacral chakra, or hara in the Japanese world, which means your hara, they believe your hara, your belly, is the center of your being. Many, especially in this meditative world, or some of the, I don't like to say new age, but some of the modalities that are out today, a lot of the meditations things teach that your center of your being is within your third eye. The Japanese believe that if you're too heavy on your third eye and not enough on the center of your being, you're kind of like an upside down triangle, you'll fall over. That's what they believe. They believe that the hara is the center of your being, and it's where you want to focus a lot of your breath that will actually cleanse your whole body. So with that, there's also something called a hara breath, and it's a fairly simple technique. And I'm going to go through a whole meditation technique, but the hara breath at the beginning, you can use that anywhere. You can be with that in your car, you can be with it when you're walking, you can be with it at work. When somebody says something you don't like, they don't even need to know. You can just take a step back and take that breath and release, and it'll bring your body into an immediately calm state, which will help you deal with things better, because it takes that edge off where you want to react. When you do that with your body, it's amazing how all of a sudden it's like it just puts you in a different perspective. So if you can just find a relaxed position, and if you just put your hands on your lap, and what you want to do is just relax your body for a bit. Just take the time to notice how you're feeling. If you have tension in your shoulders, tension in your legs or your feet or anywhere, just notice how you're feeling at this moment. Now I want you to just inhale through the nose. Take your breath right down to your hara, your belly. And when you inhale, inhale for a count of 4. And when you release, release for a count of 6. So the whole thing is that you inhale through the nose. So we'll do that right now. Inhale through the nose on a count of 4. And then when you release, the trick is to release slower than you're inhaling. So let that exhale come through your mouth at a slower rate than inhaling. So that's where the trick is, 4-6, if you need to focus on that. But you don't have to focus on the 4-6. You can just follow your intuition. But if that helps you, use the 4-6. So let's start with that breathing. So inhale through your nose. And slowly exhale through your mouth. As you release, notice how your body is relaxing. Feel it right through to your feet. Do that breathing for a little bit more. And as you exhale, you can even like make the sound so you hear the sound coming from your mouth, or like you're releasing the balloon. Now, as you're inhaling through your nose, imagine a light. Many use the white color white, but it can be any color that comes through your crown chakra. And as you breathe in, imagine a light coming in through your third eye, through your throat chakra, through your heart chakra, through your solar plexus chakra, through the sacral, down right to the root. Now imagine that white light going right through the root chakra, through your chair, through the ground, down to the earth, and just feel the stability of that groundness and feel how strong you feel when you are just secure in that white light or whatever color the light may be. Now, as you release, let that white light come through and back out as you release the breath. And just continue with that breathing pattern for a couple of minutes with that white light through your chakra, right through your entire body. Notice again how your body feels relaxed, hopefully, and secure. Now, as you bring in the white light and you bring in your breath and you hold that feeling down in your hara and you feel that white light going through your entire stomach area and feel the warmth that you're feeling from the white light and also the sturdiness and security of being grounded. Keep your breath in the same pattern of in through the nose and release through the mouth. Feel the warmth of the light. Now, as the white light comes through your crown chakra and right through your body into the hara, imagine that white light now expanding, your belly expanding out. Imagine all the peace and the calm that you're feeling right now, the sturdiness, the groundness, the security. You expand that out to the universe. So this is what you're shining as you're walking through the day, as you're going to your job, or you're going out for a walk with the dog. The dogs will even notice, the animals will notice that your brightness is just expanding out to the whole universe. So start with your white light coming through to your belly, hold it for a bit, and then just let it expand out so the entire room that you're in is just a giant white light of joy and peace. You can keep the breathing pattern, but mostly just focus on that white light engulfing you and the room so that you just feel and bathe in the peace and the light of that light. Now I want you to imagine that that white light is going beyond the walls of your house. It's going out to your neighborhood. It's going to the entire country. It's going to the entire world. That bright light, that being, the white light and beings that we are expanding outside of you so that everyone sees it. And that's what we bring to this planet, to this earth, to our community, to each other. We are one. Now, as you bathe in this white light, I want you to think of a time in your life, or even it doesn't even have to be a time in your life, of something that brings you the kind of joy that you're feeling within this light, something that takes you from all of the world's problems, all of the problems you may be having, any of the frustrations you may have, something that when you do that, you just feel this joy. And I mentioned in my own depression that I went through, it was that joy that dog brought me. Like in that one moment, it was like the world was just one between him and I. It can be even as something simple as eating ice cream on the beach. It doesn't have to be worldly, just something simple that brings you right to the joy now. Now I want you to do something that is so simple, but it's radical. I want you to smile. Just smile. Notice how your body feels when you're smiling. Keep that smiling while you're thinking of that joyful place where you feel so much happiness. For me, this part often brings me tears because we forget the joy in our life sometimes. The simple things. Now let go of the smile and notice how your body feels. The difference between when you're smiling and now when you're not. It's not sadness, but it's clear that that simple smile just does so much for your body, and it's so simple. We can do that every day. And as you sit in this joy, just repeat the mantra, all is well. Continue breathing, smiling, breathing that white light, and repeat, all is well. Because everything at this moment is well. Now, whenever you feel ready, you can come through and let go, relax, and just feel that stability, joy, and the happiness.
Thank you, Joanne.
Welcome.
I
You know,
could
I often use music in meditation, but sometimes I just crave that silence of my inner, that silence of my own inner being. So music is good, but sometimes it can be disruptive depending where you are. So It just depends. Depends on how I feel. There are times I need the music, but most times I'm finding now I mostly use silence as my go-to.
Mm. Yes, I am big on the silence. I loved that part where you invited us to smile and then let it go. And I couldn't actually let it go because it's just so amazing. The physical act of
That
tuning, turning the
switch.
corners of our
Yeah.
mouth up,
And how your body felt, right? It's
it
just like
elevates
a
everything.
small switch.
Mhm.
Yeah. Uh,
I find when I'm doing housework, I tend to get the furrowed brow and everything is, I'm just kind of in the go motion and get this done. And over the past several months, I've been actually trying to remind myself, smile, like this doesn't have to be so serious and so intense. Just smile. And so I feel like it's such a good invitation for all of us, no matter where we're at in the seasons of our life, to smile more,
yeah.
like to really focus on smiling more, especially if we're not feeling it, especially if we're not feeling it, to smile. There's this couple I follow online. I don't remember their names, but whatever whatever she says, he kind of chides her and makes jokes and whatnot. And it's quite hilarious because she laughs at every single thing he says. It doesn't matter what he says. She just giggles and laughs, and people love following them because there's just such this lightheartedness about their interactions. And I do feel like a lot of times, I know myself especially, I can just be so intense, so serious. And, when we smile more and laugh more and just let things go a little more, allow things to be a little lighter, and meditation really does give us that space to just lighten up, just lighten up. So thank you so much for bringing us through that today, Joanne. That was a real treat and a real gift. And I know this is something that we can all come back to when we want a guided meditation, to tune into our breathing and just allow ourselves to be present to this moment. And especially if we're not used to doing our own meditations, having guided meditations can be so helpful. For me, I go through seasons where I want more guidance, and then I go through seasons where I'm like, nope, I just need to breathe, tune in, pick a mantra, and just be present to myself and the stillness around me. So I don't always have guided meditation. In fact, probably most of the time lately there is no guidance. It's me, my breath, and just being in the moment. And I so appreciate you talking about how we can do this when we're in nature, we can do this when we're driving, wherever we're at. We can actually be in a meditative state where we just allow ourselves to come present. That's really what meditation allows us to do, is to
It
come
is. It
present.
doesn't have to be this practice where you're sitting for an hour. I mean, if you can sit for an hour, that's awesome. But it doesn't have to be that. I think people think that the seriousness of this meditation that is for people who are gurus or monks or some kind of smarter person than us, but it doesn't have to be like that. I know, like, I volunteer at a farm sanctuary, and you cannot fool an animal with, you can't walk in and be something you're not, because they know it all the time. You can never fool an animal with a fake smile or whatever. If you're feeling especially a lot of tension, they really get that off of you and they react. So I go right from work to the farm. So sometimes if I've had a really bad day at work, thankfully it's all the way in Aldergrove, so I have quite a bit of time to drive there, and I practice those breathing meditations on the way over there. I also, and this is something that's, if anyone is interested in animals, I also send the animals messages that I'm coming and get them to help me feel more peaceful. That may sound really funny, but the animals help me. And the animal Reiki that I do speaks to that, because they always talk about the animal is in charge in terms of their own agency. We as humans take over that whole thing. We tell them when to eat, we tell them when to poop, we tell them when to pee, we tell them everything, and they rarely have their own agency. So at the sanctuary, it's Kindred Farm Sanctuary, they try as much as possible to give them their own agency. And they've rescued horses that were abused, cows that were abused, like all of their animals were in some kind of neglectful abuse situation. And it's really interesting when they come in, because they recently brought in a blind and deaf pig who wasn't abused, but he had to be transitioned from his farm. The owner had to sell it, and the only option he had was to put this pig down, Frankie. Kindred Farm took him. And it's really interesting to watch the transition with Frankie and his trust. And I just stand there in the field and just kind of breathe and bring it in. And he knows I'm there. And another thing I'm going to tell you quickly is they have rabbits. So when I first started working there, I was like, oh, I'm an animal Reiki practitioner. Like I know stuff. I've never worked with, I've actually used to ride horses when I was younger, but again, that was a dominant situation where I was riding them for a purpose, right? I've never worked for them just to be with them. And you know, they're brats, like they'll push you out of the way, they don't care who you are. And so working with the animals, I am in a position where I'm on the check-in shift where I get them ready for the night. So we feed them, we do everything needs to be done and tuck them in. And then if I have time, maybe I can do some Reiki. But when I first got there, I was so focused on all the jobs I had to do that I really wasn't doing the meditative part. So long story short, I have to put these rabbits into their house at night. They don't want to go. So you start going around and they're running in all different positions. And then you're getting frustrated because I'm not kidding you. I could be there for 30 minutes chasing these bloody rabbits around the pen. So I would grab one and of course it would be trying to squeeze out. I felt like I was squeezing its body and then I'm like throwing it in the house and trying to get the next one. And I'm thinking, this is not working. Like one night I'm going, I am a Reiki animal practitioner. So what have they taught me? They taught me meditation is the tool. So there are a lot of volunteers there. So I felt kind of silly, but I brought my camera or my phone and I put the music on and I sat down and I did the Japanese meditations that I'm part of some of what I taught here and just cleared myself. And I was sitting away from them. So the first time I did that, this bunny, one that was most fearful, I kid you not, I had my eyes closed. I felt these little feet on my lap, and the bunny jumped on my lap. So I was like, oh my goodness, I wanted to pet it. I wanted to do the human things that we do, but I realized that space that I was creating is what the bunny was reacting to. So I didn't. I just let it go, and the bunny got off my lap. And then what happened is most of them, I think there was I think there was 10 rabbits, probably about 6 of them walked into the house without me doing anything. They literally walked into the house. And then the other ones, I got up and I just slowly guided them, and they just all walked into the house like I wasn't chasing them. There was no stress involved. There was nothing. It was all an easy. It took me like I meditated for about 10 minutes. It took me about 3 minutes to get the leftover rabbits into the house. So that's the power of meditation. And now when I sit with them, because I do this every shift, and where the co-founder saw me doing this, just what are you doing? And I told her, she goes, okay, I want you to teach the volunteers this because they all chase the rabbits around and they can actually die from the stress of being fearful. So now when I meditate with them, and I'm kid you not, one stretches across my feet as I'm comes in and stretches right across my feet as if like you watch your dog stretch, just what this rabbit's doing right at my feet. And now they will sit in front of me. There's always many of them go in, but there's always about 3 of them that hang out because I think they like the meditation, and they sit in front of me in this triangular formation facing the same way I'm facing. It's not my imagination. They're literally right in front of me facing in China. So if these rabbits can feel the power of meditation and calm them to the point where they trust me, where like, okay, she's good. As soon as I start the music, they get into the different formation, and some of them absolutely love the meditation. We can feel that power too.
I love that. But And it's such a beautiful picture of our lives because we're often chasing and racing and running and
Absolutely.
pulling, and we're kind of like trying to control everything.
That's right.
And when we come present and breathe and allow, it it is so incredibly powerful. And I love that beautiful picture of how it's not just me that's impacted, right? If I'm doing meditation, and let's just say I live in a house full of roommates or a house full of family or whatnot, if I'm tuning in, I'm getting present, I'm being still, and I'm focusing on my own energy. Really, that is exactly what you were doing, because you recognize your energy around trying to control and get these bunnies into position was the problem. It's not their energy. Like you said, like the whole thing about this farm, they want these animals to have their own autonomy, to be able to make choices, to be able to feel free. The thing that needed to shift was not the animals,
Exactly.
it your energy. And so same thing with us when we're in a workplace or in a home situation or we're in a grocery store or whatever. We do not have control over anybody else.
No.
We do have control, we do have power over our own energy. And what happens when we shift, we tune in, we just watch the magic unfold. And I know this for myself when I have really focused on coming from a place of love for myself, for others, when I just, instead of blaming or they shouldn't be doing this, or I'm not happy with these behaviors, or I'm not blah, 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 whatever it is, whether we're thinking this politically or whether we're thinking this about the people that we're in immediate contact with, if we actually just go in, that's when the magic happens. That's when we realize how powerful we actually are.
We
Really,
are.
we
We
really
really are.
are.
And our ability to heal ourselves is way more than science will even lead us to believe. So, there's a difference between healing and curing. But meditation, energy work, whatever it is you find, it doesn't have to be Reiki. It can be whatever it is you find, your own intuition, whatever it is. We have way more power than any of us have been led to believe.
Absolutely. Well, for the most part, we've given over our power to our teachers, our authority people, people in government, people in, a white medical coat, with a stethoscope. Like we've given our power over to other people versus recognizing the intrinsic power that we have. And we've all come here for all of these lessons. All of us have chosen the path that we're on, and I just so appreciate this, um, the concept of meditation that you brought forward, where it doesn't have to be complicated, where, like you said, we don't have to be gurus. We just can just focus on our breath, focus on going inwards. And if music is something that really helps to bring you to that place, then by all means, use music, use whatever tools around you, whether it's a stone that you're holding in your hand. Like I have this beautiful rose quartz. I just love how it feels. Anything that's going to allow you to just focus in on that present moment, which is what you've done with the animals. You went into yourself, and the light that you cast forward, the vibration that they felt was safe. They knew you were safe. They knew they could trust you. I love that animals, there's no there's no faking it with animals.
There is no, there's, there's no faking it.
They're
You
just
know what? My shepherd, he is the peacekeeper in this house because he doesn't like it when you argue. He hates it. So he will come and he will stand between you. And quite often he will take my husband's side because I think he feels that he's in more trouble than I am. So it's very interesting to watch him. So I'll tell you a quick story because I know we're getting to the end. The other day, Drew and I were arguing over, because Drew has a lot of stuff and I want it cleaned up. And we're getting into this, like, I want this gun, I want this gun. And he's holding on to that stuff for whatever reason. And we started getting a little bit loud. I'm like, you know what, blah, blah, blah. So chaos was outside. He wasn't in the house. So Drew and I are arguing away. And all of a sudden he appears in in our bedroom where we're arguing and comes right in between us, and he licks everybody's hand, and he's just, well, he will not move. He stands right in the middle of the heat. And Drew looks at me and goes, "How the hell did he get in the house?" I go, "I have no idea. He was outside." So I find out from my mother-in-law, she's in our basement suite, and the basement suite door, we have an entrance from the backyard. He was barking and scratching at the door when he heard our voices raised. She let him in. She said he took off. You have to remember, this dog has had a leg removed. So he took off with his three legs and up the stairs so fast to the main part, and then up the stairs again to our bedroom and came between us. They are so smart and so much more in tune than I think any of us can be.
It's amazing. Well, they don't shut off that intuition, right? We from an early age learn to dismiss our higher self, to dismiss that still small voice, to dismiss the intuition. And as we get older, it's like we have to unpack all the layers that have built up around us. And that's what meditation does. It allows us to actually put aside all the stuff and allows us to really tune in. So that we can be more like animals, so that we can actually, like, really, we should be aspiring to be more like them, to read people's energy, to understand frequencies, to understand vibration, how we feel in this moment. Oh, is that my feeling or is that their feeling, right? I mean, animals they don't even have to think about it. They can tune in.
They
So
are our teachers.
really are. Thank
Yeah.
you so much, Joanne. Delightful. And I feel like I can go about my day and feel tuned in and feel that just that inner peace. So thank you so much for sharing with us
Very
today.
welcome. I'm glad to do it. Happy to do it.
Yeah, awesome.
Okay.
Great.
Have a good day, everybody.